morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, May 1st, 2017. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm very happy to be joined by Alex Gleitman. Alex, obviously the NFL draft wrapped up over the weekend. It went about as well as expected for Ohio State, with 7 players selected. Obviously, Cameron Johnson didn't get taken, but was quickly snatched up by the Eagles. Dontre Wilson was signed as an undrafted free agent. But the 7 guys that were drafted, you had 3 going in the first round. That went about as well as could have expected with Garyon Conley. And the other guys I thought all went either where they're expected to go or maybe even earlier than expected to go. Just your thoughts on the NFL draft from Ohio State's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, another good draft for the Buckeyes. 3 first-round defensive backs taken. That tied a record with the 2002 Miami Hurricanes for most players from a position drafted in a single round, and then it actually broke the record for most first-rounders over the 2-year span. So they had the 4 defensive backs with Eli Apple being drafted in the first round last year. So that's obviously a good stat to get after recruits and all that. And then, at the same time, I just love to see that kid get drafted in the first round. I mean, if he's guilty, he should, go to jail. But from everything we know, it certainly looks like he's innocent, and he should be treated as innocent until proven guilty. And I don't know if the Raiders were the team that gave him the polygraph test or whatever, but these NFL teams did their homework. Some probably were hoping he fell to the second or third round and they would be able to snatch him up there. But, the Raiders took a gamble on him, and I think it's going to pay off for them, because that's a top 15 talent that they got with the 24th overall pick. So, that was the first round. That was great. And then I thought Curtis Samuel being taken in the second round, that was big for him. I think him and Christian McCaffrey, that's going to be an interesting scenario there in Carolina. They really don't have a lot of offensive firepower outside of Cam Newton. I mean, they have Calvin Benjamin, they have Devin Funchess, and now they have Christian McCaffrey and Curtis Samuel. So that's going to be an interesting fit. But I think both of those guys are going to provide Carolina with tremendous speed and versatility, and it's going to be interesting to see how they use both of them interchangeably. And then, Raekwon McMillan, as you said, I think he went a little bit higher than I thought he would. I thought he might go later in the second round or perhaps early third round, but, that's a good fit for him. I know they were looking for a solid linebacker. Everyone was talking about Zach Cunningham and the Dolphins, even in the first round, and they passed on Zach Cunningham from Vanderbilt to take Raekwon McMillan. So they obviously like a lot about what they saw in him. And then, obviously Pat Elflein being taken. The Vikings actually traded up to get Pat Elflein, and I think that's a good fit for him. That's a team that can make the playoffs this year. It probably all depends on their quarterback play, but that's a good fit for Pat. He gets to kind of stay in the Midwest region, and he's a tough, hard-nosed, blue-collar type of player that I think will fit in really well there. And then Noah Brown, I've heard some rumors that he could have been facing suspension had he come back. So if that's true, I do understand the decision to go pro. But, 7th round to the Cowboys, hey, he's got a shot to do something and prove himself on a team that could be a Super Bowl contender. So maybe not much. It could have maybe been a better situation for Noah. He'll learn from a guy like Des Bryant and some of the other guys they have there, and he'll be with Zeke Elliott. So that will be good. But I was glad to see him get picked.
Yeah, it was a fun event as always. I'm really happy. I think you hit on all the high points there. I was really happy Garyon Conley went in the first round. Again, if he's guilty, I will feel terrible feeling that way. But I'm confident he's innocent. He passed the lie detector test. I don't think an NFL team would have used a first-round pick on him unless they were supremely confident that he was innocent. So I thought it worked out very well for the Buckeyes over this weekend. Let's switch gears and talk about the actual team for 2017, the Ohio State Buckeyes. This is a question I get a lot, and frankly, I get stumped on it a lot because I'm not really sure what the best answer is. Who is the most indispensable Buckeye on this current roster? I give the floor to you, sir. Who is the most indispensable Buckeye this year, Alex?
I'm going to go with left tackle Jamarco Jones for a number of reasons. Number one, I think fans don't even realize how good Jamarco Jones was last year. I mean, he was excellent on an offensive line that was pretty mediocre and inconsistent throughout the year. But, I think he was a really good player. I think he's going to take another step forward this year. I think he's going to be, I don't know if he's a first-round draft pick in the NFL next year. I guess that all depends on his play. But I think he certainly could be like a second-round pick in the NFL draft. And I think he could be an all-Big Ten type of player, potentially an All-American, depending on how Ohio State's offensive line and team does this year. But I also think because of the lack of depth, especially at the tackle position, if Jamarco Jones goes down, I think Ohio State is in trouble. They have Isaiah Prince on the right side. We still don't know, if he's taken the next step. I mean, all the signs are good. We haven't heard about Urban Meyer saying that he's the guy who needs to improve. It's always been the right guard and Michael Jordan. So it's good that Isaiah Prince is taking the right steps in the right direction. But if he's ready to swing over to left tackle, should Jamarco Jones go down? Is Michael Jordan, who's supposedly still, has to get up to speed and grow up fast, is he ready to kick out to left tackle? Is Brandon Bowen ready to come in? Is Malcolm Pridgeon ready to come in? The answer to those is unknown, and it's probably no right now. So I think if Jamarco Jones goes down, protecting the quarterback's blind side, I think that's the most indispensable Buckeye this year.
I like it. I'm going to steal your answer when people ask me that from now on. I'm going to go with Jamarco Jones. I think I like that a lot because left tackle is important, and you could say Billy Price is also very important to this team, being a fifth-year senior on the offensive line, but left tackle Jamarco Jones, as well as he played last year as a first-year starter, I think he's going to play even better this year as a second-year starter. I like that pick, Alex. All right, before I let you go, I want to talk some recruiting. I know there's a lot going on with recruiting right now, but what is maybe the biggest recruiting story right now? What's something, if you're an Ohio State fan out there, that you absolutely need to know about right now on the recruiting front?
Yeah, well, we got a decision coming up in about 15 days from Dallas and in-state linebacker, and things have I guess they've always kind of been this way, but as far as our knowledge goes, I think things have swung into Ohio State's favor. A lot of people were nervous about Notre Dame or Michigan, but it seems like Dallas can, more than likely, unless something changes in the next 15 days, he's going to be a Buckeye on May 16th. And then, I guess kind of the other story that everyone's kind of talking about, but and has been talking about since last weekend when he decommitted from Penn State, is Micah Parsons. And I don't want to say too much because I'll have a story on Bucknuts VIP over the next either today or tomorrow. But I got to spend some time with Micah at the opening out in New Jersey yesterday, and I was very surprised with Micah and his personality. I heard a lot of things about questions about character and all that stuff. He was a pleasant young man to speak to. He was really honest about what happened with Penn State, just telling me that basically he wanted to take visits. He made a decision maybe a little too early, and he sat down with the staff, and they ultimately just decided that it wasn't right for him to be committed. If he was going to continue to take visits and look at stuff. But, he really is going to look at Penn State. He's going to look at Ohio State real hard. Larry Johnson's a big part of that. He loves Larry Johnson. He loves Urban Meyer. He loves the opportunity to win championships and go to the NFL. And he's really close with Ohio State's commits, obviously Penn State's as well. And, there's some other schools, Georgia, Florida State, Clemson, Miami, maybe Florida. There was buzz about Florida, Miami, but from everything I gather, I think he's going to stay a little closer to home, either Ohio State or Penn State at the end of the day. And right now, just the buzz around the opening, it seems like Ohio State is the one with the edge right now. But Micah told us he was thinking about signing day or right before signing day. So this one could go a while, and it's something to watch. But right now, I would say Ohio State has the lead with Micah Parsons, in my opinion.
Well, that's great news for the Buckeyes. I understand you not wanting to scoop yourself with your VIP story coming up. But I have to ask you this. You mentioned Penn State's still in the mix. It's so rare, extremely rare, as you know, for a big-time prospect to commit to a school, decommit, and then commit back to that same school. So do you really feel like in your gut Penn State is a serious contender here, or do you think a kid from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania is just saying that to be nice?
Normally I would say no, but I think in this situation they actually are. I think he really likes Penn State. I think his dad, I know his dad is a huge Penn State fan. That region is Penn State country, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And Micah grew up rooting for the Nittany Lions, and I think he likes Coach Franklin and Coach Spence and that staff a lot. I think he truly made a commitment too early. He made it last February 2016. So he was a sophomore. Not even finished with his sophomore year, midway through his sophomore year. And I think, while that was always kind of the school he wanted to go to, I think he didn't really know there was anything outside of Penn State. And, getting a chance to go to Ohio State and sit down with Larry Johnson, a guy who coached at Penn State during his whole childhood, ultimately. And, his father obviously very familiar with and recruits the Harrisburg area very well. So being able to go to Ohio State and being able to go down to a place like Georgia and just realizing that this is a once in a lifetime experience, I think he wants to get out and see all these schools and really actually make the best decision for him. I don't think this is about playing games or anything like that. I don't think he's just being nice to Penn State. I do think there's genuine interest there, and talking to Steve Wilfong, I know he feels the same way. And I do think Penn State is still a legitimate landing spot for Micah Parsons. But, you know, as you said, the odds aren't great that kids go, why decommit? You know, why even question the decision if you're so gung-ho on Penn State? And, you know, while my crystal ball's in for Ohio State right now, I think that's where he's going to end up at the end of the day. There's a long way to go, and he could come back at the end of the process and be like, hey, you know, I went to all these schools, I checked everything out, and nothing felt as good as Penn State. And I think they would certainly take him back with open arms. It seems like that door was open by James Franklin, and they told him they loved him, and they just, you know, they wanted to do right by them, and they wanted to do right by him. So I do actually think in this situation, Penn State is a real player.
Great insights from Alex Gleitman. Thank you very much, Alex. And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day. Let's hear some Buckeye swag. Best damn band in the land.